So for today's quick tip, we're going to look at how to renovate yellowed plastic, and this multimeter is going to be the example for it. It's an old Maplin Gold WG020. It is faulty. I'm not going to bother to repair this, it's just a faulty chip. But if we look around, we can see all the discoloration, and this isn't from smoking, this is just the effect of light on the plastics. And they've become seriously discoloured. In fact, if we look here on the back, we can see where a label's been protecting it from the light, and we can see the original grey colour of the case instead of this mucky sort of, I don't know what colour you'd call it, but a few places where the light hasn't got, we can see close to the original colour. I'm going to open it up in a few minutes and we will truly see the colour, but this end here is particularly yellowed. Yeah, so I reckon that'll give a pretty good view as to the difference. So this is a single piece of moulded plastic as far as I can see. I mean, it might be made in two parts, but here, for example, is our switch. Exposed to light, not exposed to light. So yeah, we can quite easily see the difference on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off half of this, I think, sort of through the middle, and then I'm going to treat one side, and I'm going to treat it with a hydrogen peroxide paste, and then I'm going to put it into ultraviolet light. Now I'm going to use a UV light box because it's the middle of winter, and I live in the UK, so you know we're not too good for light around here. But really, you want to do this in the summer. Find a sort of midday light, find a wall that has a bit of a shadow, and then you can do this, and you can put the item outside in a plastic bag or something like that. And plastic bags just to stop it drying out, really. If you've got liquid hydrogen peroxide, then by all means do it in that. I'm going to use a paste on this occasion, which could be interesting because I've never done it with paste before. I've always just immersed these in liquid and put them in a UV light chamber. But you know, we'll do what we'll do it this way for a change. So I've got my part, and I'm also going to do, I think I'll do part of the back as well. So I've got my parts and I popped them in a tub just to keep everything nice and tidy. And here is my hydrogen peroxide, which is a 12% solution, and it's in a gel. And this is mainly intended for bleaching for the purposes of hair dyeing, of course. Now what I should have done really is give this a proper clean first with some alcohol. I might just do that on the bottom piece as I do it, if I can find my alcohol. Okay, and I'm going to kind of apply it to one side so that hopefully it is very obvious the section that has been treated and not very, and which section has not been treated. That's the plan anyway. And while that's in there, I will do half of the knob as well. So I thought I'd just interject for a second to talk about using liquid instead of the paste. And it's clearly more cost effective to buy concentrated hydrogen peroxide and thin it down, but you do need an explosives precursors license to do that. You can buy up to about 12% in the shops, however, and use that. If you do, you'll need to find some way of weighing down the objects that doesn't affect the UV light. And also I would recommend filling some of the space in the trays with stones or something like that, just so you use less hydrogen peroxide. Okay, back to the video. So here we have the UV light box. It's actually just on the floor in our kitchen area next to all the scrap boards that need to be thrown out and the heater. But anyway, we can see what it is. It's just a load of UV light bulbs on the top and a big hole down the bottom. We'll pop our parts in there. Now this one is designed to have things like hydrogen peroxide in it. It has a fan in the back, but you know, it will get a little bit warm with these light bulbs, but these are actively cooled, so I'm not too worried. I'm going to shut this down, and that's the last we'll see of that box for a few minutes. And there we go, that's our cooling happening, and we'll leave that to cook for 20 minutes or so. Okay, so these have been cooking for about an hour, and during that time I've had to refresh the hydrogen peroxide a few times. Last time I mixed it with a little bit of extra water just to make it a little bit more fluid, because it does tend to dry out somewhat. Maybe putting them in a sealed plastic bag would be a good idea. So I'm going to give them a little rinse, and we shall see how they look. I'll try and remove a bit of the glaring lights, see if that helps as well. There we go, that's probably clearer there. So you should be able to see the difference between these two halves, this versus this, this versus this, very, very clearly indeed. If we look at the original colours on the side, take a look at that comparison there versus that comparison there. So, yep, so that's I'm going to go for that being a winner. Pretty decent improvement in colour on this side here. Not as noticeable, perhaps, but this looks like someone's been smoking, and this does not. So yeah, pretty pleased with that as well. I think that's a good result. Probably see it quite well in that light. Hard to tell. I'm trying to see what's working, what isn't, to catch it on the camera. It's quite noticeable here in the lab. It's a little uneven this here. We can see where I've been a bit random with my brush strokes. Let's look at this final guy. So this guy was a bit easier to manage, in so much as it had a nice pit in it that I could just fill with dilute liquid. So I think it's difficult not to get it shaded. Let's try putting it this way around. So side that had the hydrogen peroxide, side that didn't have the hydrogen peroxide. So there we go. This really needed a little bit longer to get 100% back to the original. And I don't know that you would get 100% back to the original necessarily. But it's an exceedingly good start, and it looks 100% better than this yellowed, horrible, crusty thing. Now, you know, to be clear, this is a non-smoking household. This is just discoloration from light. And yes, you can take it away using this hydrogen peroxide trick. So there we go. That's the tip for today. If you enjoyed that, if you found that useful, then please give me a thumbs up and like the video, and please leave comments below if you've got any tips how to make this easier for people or anything like that. And I'll see you next time. Take care.